Sometimes the heart grows tired long before the body does. You wake up and everything looks the same, yet something inside you feels heavier. You pray, but your mind wanders. You try to have hope, but disappointment whispers louder. And you wonder quietly, maybe even shamefully, why does my heart still feel restless when I believe? Why does the pain linger when I am trying so hard to be faithful? These are not questions of weakness. These are questions of a heart that is awake, a heart that is searching, a heart that has felt loss, attachment, fear, and the deep ache of unmet expectations. Prayer is often spoken about as a duty, a ritual, a list of words we recite. But prayer was never meant to be mechanical. Prayer was meant to be transformative. It was meant to reshape you, to soften what has hardened, to untangle what has become knotted inside your chest. When you stand before Allah, you are not just asking for things. You are being rewired. Slowly, gently, profoundly. Think about how pain imprints itself on the mind. One heartbreak teaches the brain to expect abandonment. One failure trains the mind to fear trying again. One loss convinces the heart that safety is an illusion. Over time, these experiences carve pathways inside us. We begin to live from our wounds. We react instead of respond. We cling instead of trust. We control instead of surrender. And then we wonder why peace feels so distant. Prayer interrupts this pattern. When you raise your hands in dua, when you lower your head in sujud, when you whisper words only Allah can hear, something shifts. You are telling your nervous system that you are not alone. You are reminding your heart that there is a power greater than what you fear. You are loosening the grip of the illusion that everything depends on you. But here is the part we often miss. Prayer does not always change the situation right away. Sometimes it changes the one who is praying. And that change is not always comfortable, because healing requires honesty. And honesty requires that you face what you've been avoiding. Your attachments, your expectations, your silent bargains with ALOAH. The moments where you thought happiness lived in a person, a title, a timeline, or an outcome. Prayer begins to peel those layers away. At first, it may feel unsettling. You might feel more emotional, more aware, more raw. That is not regression. That is awakening. The heart cannot heal what it refuses to feel. And prayer gives you the safety to feel without being consumed, to grieve without despair, to hope without entitlement. Every time you turn to ALAH, instead of turning inward with blame or outward with resentment, you are teaching your brain a new response. You are replacing panic with pause. You are replacing despair with remembrance. You are creating space between the trigger and the reaction. This is not just spiritual. This is deeply psychological. Your mind learns calm through repetition. Your heart learns trust through experience. And prayer becomes the training ground. There is a freedom that comes when you realize that prayer is not about perfect words. It is about presence. Showing up broken still counts. Showing up confused still counts. Even showing up angry still counts. as long as you show up honestly. LLH does not ask for performance. He asks for sincerity, and sincerity is what heals. The world teaches us to attach our worth to results, to measure our value by success, relationships, productivity, and approval. Prayer slowly undoes this conditioning. It reminds you that your worth was never earned. It was given. And what is given by ALH cannot be taken by the world. When you pray consistently, even when you feel nothing, you are laying down new roots. You are teaching your heart patience. You are teaching your mind that relief does not always come instantly, but it always comes meaningfully. Sometimes the answer is not what you asked for, but what you needed to become. And here is the quiet miracle. Over time, prayer begins to change what you crave. You start craving clarity over control, peace over validation, alignment over applause. You begin to notice that what once shattered you no longer has the same power. That what once terrified you now feels manageable. Not because life became easier, but because your inner world became stronger. This is how prayer rewires you. Not with lightning bolts, but with light. Not all at once, but moment by moment. Each sincere prayer is a step away from fear and a step toward trust. Each moment of remembrance is a release of what you were never meant to carry alone. And maybe today, that is all you need. Not a dramatic breakthrough, just a gentle return, a quiet decision to place your heart back where it belongs, in the care of ALLAH, the one who created it. There is a reason prayer feels different when life strips you of your illusions, when what you relied on disappears, when the plans you carefully built collapse without explanation. In those moments, prayer stops being theoretical. It becomes survival. You are no longer speaking from a place of confidence. You are speaking from need. And it is there, in that broken sincerity, that the heart becomes most receptive to change. The brain is always listening to what the heart believes. If the heart believes safety comes from control, the mind will stay anxious. If the heart believes love comes from people, the mind will fear loss. If the heart believes worth comes from achievement, the mind will never rest. Prayer gently challenges these beliefs, not by force, but by truth. Each time you turn to ALAH, you are reminded where power truly lies. And slowly, the mind begins to follow. This is why consistency matters more than intensity. You may not feel transformed after one prayer, but transformation is not dramatic. It is cumulative, like water shaping stone, like light slowly entering a dark room. Each prayer leaves a trace. Each moment of remembrance softens resistance. Each act of surrender loosens the grip of fear. There is also a mercy in unanswered prayers that we rarely understand in the moment. Sometimes ALAH withholds what you want because he is protecting what you need. Sometimes the delay is not punishment, but preparation. Prayer rewires the brain to tolerate uncertainty without despair, to sit with the unknown without panic, to trust timing even when clarity is absent. When you pray through heartbreak, you are teaching your heart that loss is not the end of love. When you pray through anxiety, you are teaching your mind that fear does not get the final word. When you pray through exhaustion, you are teaching your soul that rest does not come from escape, but from reliance. And slowly, your inner dialogue begins to change. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" And you begin asking, "What is this teaching me?" You stop chasing certainty and begin cultivating faith. You stop needing guarantees and start trusting guidance. This is growth. This is healing. This is prayer doing its quiet work. There is a tenderness that develops in those who pray often. Not weakness, tenderness. A sensitivity to truth. A humility that comes from knowing you are not self-sufficient. And this tenderness becomes strength. Because a heart connected to ALIH is not easily shattered by the world. Prayer also creates boundaries inside you. You begin to notice when something costs you your peace. You become less willing to betray your values for approval, less willing to compromise your soul for temporary comfort. The rewiring shows up in your choices, in what you walk away from, in what you no longer beg for, in what you finally trust enough to release. And here is the paradox. The more you surrender, the lighter you feel, the less you cling, the more secure you become, the more you rely on ALLH, the less the world can destabilize you. This is not detachment from life. This is engagement without enslavement, love without worship, effort without obsession. Prayer teaches the heart where to anchor, not in outcomes, but in intention, not in people, but in purpose, not in the future, but in trust. And when the heart is anchored correctly, the storms still come, but they do not define you. As you move into a new year, you may still carry unanswered questions. You may still feel wounds that have not fully healed, but you also carry something stronger now. Awareness, perspective, a heart that knows where to turn when everything else fails. Let prayer be the place you return to, not just when life hurts, but when life feels good. Let it be your grounding, not your emergency exit. Let it be the space where you realign your intentions, recalibrate your desires, and remember who you belong to. If this message has touched your heart, share it with someone who needs healing. Subscribe for more reflections that guide you back to inner peace, purpose, and reliance on ALAH. And as you step forward, step lightly, with trust, with faith, with a heart that knows it is held.